No matter how far the sciences have come over the last few centuries, apparently humankind still doesn't have a firm grip on how the universe works. At least, not every eccentric element contained within it. So that means there are some things that continue to confound us, whether they be the overarching mysteries of how and why the universe came into being, or more down-to-earth conundrums, such as what the fox is going on in this ATM queue? And the prickly question of why that grown man thought it a good idea to glue cacti to himself. Yes, the following pictures prove that the universe still holds plenty for us to scratch our heads over. Ever wanted to be covered in a fine mist by a tiny, handheld dog? No? Then this animal's aerosol advertisement is not targeted at you, friend. However, considering anyone in their right mind would have answered in the negative, it positively begs the question, just who is this advert aimed at? And, perhaps more pertinently, what does it mean? Sure, just wheel that concrete hemisphere around the city streets like it's no thing. Show up the sights, really cement your relationship with it. Don't you worry, that's not strange behavior at all. And it certainly doesn't raise any questions about life, the universe and everything in it. No, we're definitely not losing our minds here. Truly, the universe has a sense of humor. Creation is actually a place of chaos and anarchy. How else do you explain the strange irony of a bird landing on this sign? It's not as if our feathered friend did it on purpose, after all. Birds are not literate, as far as we know, anyway. Crumbs. Strapping slices of bread to your body and encouraging those greedy flockers to peck you to death seems like an odd way to go out. But who are we to question it? After all, just look at the crazy expression on the guy's face. He looks like he's a few slices short of the full loaf. And would you really want to come between a man and his apparent destiny? Looks like he was bred for such a fate. Mysterious is definitely the word for this surreal sight. Did the bricklayers just get bored of repeating the same pattern day in, day out? Was one of the construction crew a budding artist looking to prove himself? We may never know the answer, but the architectural attention to detail really makes this address. This is basically what would happen when a trash receptacle meets Inception, only with Leo DiCaprio. Yes, you would never really think about throwing the thing you threw your garbage in into the garbage thing, but evidently it does happen. And that means, of course, a bigger trash receptacle. What a spectacle, it's almost poetic. This is a potato masher which ended up in a hot wash, for reasons we're not quite sure of. Regardless, what is more mysterious is what happened to the kitchen tool once it was in the washing machine. Yes, the handle melted and fell away. And underneath was. Yep, you guessed it, another handle. How deep does this thing go? It's really mashing our brains. Of course, a venture called the Sliding Door Company would not put its money where its mouth was and have sliding doors at its entrance. That would be too easy. No, you have to yank on the handle to go inside to see how effortlessly easy to open the company's products are. On a sliding scale, the mystery of who decided this was a good marketing move is off the top end. On the one hand, this makes total sense. Firefighters need plenty of water to do their job properly, we all know that. It's just that it comes out of a high-pressure hose rather than out of bottles from the grocery store. We don't want to faucet, but we repeat, sometimes the universe sure is strange. We guess on this evidence that the cartoon comedy series BoJack Horseman's anthropomorphization of animals wasn't too far from the truth. Yes, this dog has clearly had one hell of a day at the office, and what better way to unwind than with some wine and a few smokes. We just hope this canine hasn't brought the car. He might get collared by the cops for a D. There's probably a good reason why Cactus Man didn't make the cut in the Marvel universe of superhero characters. It could just be down to the ridiculous name, rather than his spiky personality. Or perhaps because he's essentially just an ordinary dude with some cacti inexpertly affixed to his body. Yeah, we can't imagine that being very comfortable, but it would certainly discourage any foes from grappling. Yep, this is a fox queuing up to use an ATM. Because if Roald Dahl has taught us anything, it's that foxes are fantastic. Although we guess if Mr. Fox had a debit card, he probably wouldn't have needed to worry about stealing from the farmers in the first place. Presumably, this guy gives the henhouse a swerve and just buys in bulk from the nearest KFC. What are the odds of this Beach Boy being in just the right place at the right time for this photographical and topographical tribute to be taken? Even if he's from the neighborhood and has noticed a distinct correlation between his body shape and that local landmark, it still seems unlikely. But then again, that's the universe for you. But what was that about the animated BoJack Horseman becoming a real-life documentary? Yes, just imagine glancing up through your neighbor's window to see the silhouette of a horse in there. It would ride roughshod all over your sense of reality. To be fair, taking a photo of the nag in question is probably the first thing we'd do too, at least to confirm we hadn't gone insane. From the moment they were announced, we all knew those pesky lightning to headphone adapters for iPhones would end up in some pretty crazy places. After all, we have a hard enough time keeping track of our regular cables, let alone these tiny ones. And, it seems, we were dead right. Yep, if the shoe fits, that's an excellent philosophical question. Broken store sign. Are feet shoes? Really, this question may be too much for a Monday morning. It may even be an unwelcome thought for a Saturday evening. Or, indeed, whenever you're reading this, because, let's be honest, there is never a good time for an existential crisis. Well, we guess the zone is serving its purpose. After all, that is literally a wheelchair parked in a space marked with a symbol of a wheelchair. But where did its owner go? Did the parking space miraculously cure them? Sometimes, it would be nice if the universe provided some answers, rather than just all these infernal questions. When you think about it, this curious customized detail is pretty genius. Just think of having to pull over on a remote car journey, where there are no restrooms in sight, and having to relieve yourself, only to be faced with no way to wash your hands. Indeed, it may not be the most glamorous hood ornament, but it's definitely a practical one. Alas, the live-action remake of Chicken Run didn't quite live up to the original. Indeed, it turned out there was a reason the film was animated. Poultry are notoriously difficult to train. At least, that's the only explanation we can think of for this perplexing image. This IT girl is wearing the weirdest fancy dress outfit we've ever seen. At least, we're hoping that it's a costume, and not actually the freakish offspring of a human and an early 2000s desktop computer. Maybe we should have paid more attention in biology class.